even Chief Rabbi Caper Shmuel Funeh, to Rabbi Shlomo ben Levi, the master of this house, to the elders of this house. It is my honor and my privilege to be here and to once again say Shabbat Shalom Aleichem.
Shabbat Shalom. You said you're talking to yourself.
Well, then they need to turn up the mic. Turn up the mic,
do
or
that.
switch the mic, or
We
whatever they do.
We do that.
Use this one or
We
Okay, he's got it. Raphael got it.
don't Raphael, he gonna take care of it. We trust him.
he knows what he's doing.
He know what he doing. We trust him. So normally when I do Shabbat Beresheit, it's a big study. It's a big study, and we take our time and we go through it. What I don't want to do is take an hour and 40 minutes though. So what I'm going to do is, let's break this down. I'm going to give you the necessary components. And I say that because I want to start by saying that Beresheit is unlike any other portion in the entire Tanakh. It's not something that you can always put your hand on firmly. It's not something that you can stand up and say, I swear that this is exactly the way it happened. What you can do with Beresheit is have a study that makes you understand what's beautiful about Beresheit to me is that in it you get to learn who God is. Oh, yes. See, you get to learn who He is, and you get to learn a particular lesson. And I want to start by remembering what I was told by the late Chief Rabbi Levi ben Levi Alive Shalom. He told me that his teacher, the late great Chief Rabbi Wentworth Arthur Matthews, said that what we need to do sometime is tell the people what you want them to know first. Because sometimes what you can do is you can get off course. And so what you need to do is they need to know what it is that you wanted to tell them in the first place before you get lost in your train of thought. So the thing that I want to tell you before we get lost is that this portion is about what it means to be obedient to God and the consequences that comes from not being obedient to God. You don't learn nothing else, you better learn that today.
All right, then.
About being obedient to the one who is the master. See, when you think about it, we think that we know a lot of stuff and we think that we have a lot of information, but this is the master. I like using that term when it comes to him. Okay? I want you to understand who I'm talking about.
All right.
I'm talking about Adon Olam.
Amen. Amen.
The Lord of the universe.
He made it. He made it today. In the beginning.
So we give him thanks. Another thing I want to tell you is that as we go through this portion, please do not expect it to be in chronological order. Because it's not. Not only that, you're going to, Gavir, all right, help me with these big words. In this portion, you're going to get things called metaphor and anthropomorphism. Yeah, go look it up. Go look it up. You don't know what it is? That's your assignment. I want you to recognize that what's happening here. In a very few pages, Moshe ben Amram, and I need for you to recognize this writ did not come into existence until the time of Moshe ben Amram and thereafter, right? So I want you to know that Moshe ben Amram had the daunting task of telling the story of creation, telling you the story of millennia and time untold in a few words. So please don't expect that every little word is going to be listed, because it's not. I also don't want you to get confused with the vernacular that is going to be used. We were an agrarian people. We did not turn on light switches and buy our food in plastic wrap. We knew that bread started from grain.
Right. Amen.
You ask the average person today, they don't even know that flour starts from grain. Because we're out of, that's a good word, Emo. We're out of sync. So I need for you to understand where we're at. Understand that the jargon or the genre that Moshe is speaking in is one that was understood by the people to whom he was speaking. There was information that they had, and we'll see it, that you'll recognize that these things are not just written boom, 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 boom. They are things that you're going to have to be able to use your mind and see how these things come together. So what I decided to do is that I'm going to do this in brief, and then we're going to break, and then during the lunch, if you would like, we'll take questions. That way you can get directly the answer that you want. You don't have to figure out whether or not, well, did he cover that? Did he do that? You can ask me anything you want. And by that time, Adon will have turned off that camera, and I'll really be able to tell you exactly what it is that I want to tell you.
Have your way now.
One of the most profound statements in the entire book of God is this. In the beginning, God.
Berashit bara Elohim.
Listen to that. In the beginning, God. I want to stop there. I want you to recognize that there was no explanation of God.
Right.
I want you to hear me when I'm telling you.
Right.
There was no explanation of God. They didn't have to prove God. They didn't have to try to convince God. They just simply made the statement, in the beginning, God. Sometimes we find ourselves now, we got to defend if there's a God.
Okay.
Maybe there's a God. Perhaps there's a God. Maybe not a God. The consciousness, levels of understanding, all these other things. This is what I want to also tell you. I'm a science major by trade. So some things don't make sense to me. When you get up there and you tell me everything tends toward chaos, there's this word called entropy, right? Yeah. Everything tends toward chaos, right? And if you're telling me everything tends towards chaos, now, and this universe had to be in specific order, I want to know who ordered it.
Right. Out of all the chaos
right?
and confusion.
I want to know who put it in order. If you're telling me that the natural state of existence is chaos, then I need for you to tell me who put it in order and how the order is maintained and kept. This is a major statement about the understanding of the ancients. They clearly knew and understood there was God. Now some of them were confused. They thought there was a bunch of them. Right?
Okay.
But the beauty of our fathers is that they understood the sublime truth that there was, and will always be only one God. So it says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. I now have to tell you this in our language because it's going to become pertinent in our discussion as we go further. In the Ivrit it says, Bereshit bara Elohim et hashemayim wa et ha'aretz. I need for you to know, for those of you who do not speak Hebrew or do not have a conscious understanding of how Hebrew functions, this word Elohim, the im on the end of it, makes it a plural word. I need for you to understand that that is very important because we say in the beginning God, but the word that is in the Torah for God is Elohim, and it's in the plural. Don't get scared. Just listen for a minute. The next word that comes after the word that comes before Elohim is the word bara.
He created.
The word bara is third person, masculine,
Right.
past tense,
Right.
singular.
Right.
Did you hear me?
Okay.
Let me give you a better English. The modifier, or the, what's that word called? The adjective of the noun is singular, third person, past tense. You hear me?
Right.
Although the word that is modifying is plural.
Right.
Why do I tell you that? From the beginning. Because I want you to understand that our fathers had a different way of understanding things and talking than we do. That our fathers put things in a way because they were describing the immenseness of God. It made sense to them to pluralize this word, to talk about the enormity in them, but it doesn't change. Right back to the language, it goes right back to a singular form. That's going to be important to you in a little while. Just please, just hold on. It says, now the earth was unformed and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God hovered over the face of the waters, and God said, let there be light. And there was light. And God saw that the light, that it was good, and God divided the light from the darkness, and God called the light day, and the darkness he called night, and there was evening, and there was morning one day. So the thing that I want to stop and tell you about this is this, that right here we get to see how God created, how God constitutes a day. That word day, because there's a lot of confusion going on in these times about the word day.
Amen.
Day has several meanings.
Amen.
I don't understand why all of a sudden we are closed-minded and we don't understand that day has several meanings. Day can mean daytime, as in when the sun is out, or day can mean a period of time that constitutes the amount of time that it takes for the earth to spin in one cycle. You got it?
Right.
That quote-unquote 24-hour period is also called a day. But in our way of life, day doesn't start at midnight. In our way of life, when the sun goes down, and that means this day is going out, the new day is coming in.
Yes.
So our days begin in the evening.
Yes.
Need for you to understand that bit of our culture. God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. And God made the firmament and divided the waters that were under the firmament from the waters that were above the firmament. And it was so. And God called the firmament heaven. And there was evening and there was morning, a second day. So what was happening was that you heard in the beginning, there was all in the beginning. It says, and God hovered over the face of the waters. And God said, let there be light. But let me tell you, remember I was telling you about some of that stuff that wasn't in here? Got two questions for you. Who do you think created the water that God hovered over? And I got a better question for you. Who do you think made darkness? I need for you to get now who we're talking about. This is the one who, before he made anything, we sing this in the song, in the Adon Olam, Beterem Kol, before anything was created. Yes?
Okay.
That before anything was created, the living God existed in a... His existence was without time or space, light or darkness. Now, you roll that around in your head. Figure it out. God said, let the waters under the heavens be gathered together into one place, and let a dry land appear. And it was so. And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together waters he called seas. And God saw that it was good. And God said, let the earth put forth grass, herb yielding seed, and fruit tree bearing fruit after its kind. Important thing. Wherein the seed thereof upon the earth. And it was so. And the earth brought forth grass, herb yielding seed after its kind, and tree bearing fruit, wherein is the seed thereof after its kind. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening, and there was morning, a third day. So God said, now call forth the earth up